Okay, let's try this again. We've reset the live, but that is the question we're asking is what is causing the younger generation to run from police at a greater frequency than any other generation before? Not only just run from police, fight and struggle with police and just an overall lack of respect towards law enforcement. What is causing that? Now, there's no denying that the police have been caught looking pretty damn bad on media outlets as of late. The last couple decades, last generation or so, there's no shortage of police acting badly. But why join the fray? Why also join this and put your own life at risk? And that Marcy, you said we don't value life. That's real sad. But I would see some validity to that. If you run from the police or fight with the police, believing that if I fight with them because of their duties or because of the law, they're going to be gentle with me. I have to ask the question, why would you put your life, the value of your life, in the hands of somebody you don't know? When you're struggling with police, fighting with police, running from police, you're hoping that they do the right thing by you, as opposed to you simply not putting yourself in that situation. What's causing the young generation to do that? That's what we're going to be bringing up. Okay, and I will go right to the thing because I don't get it. I need someone to tell me what's causing the youth to risk their own lives. It makes no sense. Jeff, good afternoon.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm okay. So, the police shooting of Jayland Walker is a little bit of a sore spot when it comes to me because I'm someone who's from Minnesota. We've kind of been the
Okay.
epicenter of police brutality for the past couple of years. I can name 4 cases off the top of my head within the past 2 years just in my state alone, which frightens me. And then we all saw what happened. There was a public outcry. Black Lives Matter took to the streets and they made their voices heard, and we protested and we said this
Right.
needs to change. Something needs to happen. Either accountability needs to happen, or refunding needs to be happening, or something along those lines to show that this isn't normal, this isn't right, and this needs to stop, needs to happen. And thankfully, Derek Chauvin was put in prison, and so I hear his sentence was just extended. Great. But then I hear about something like this happening. And from my perspective, that means that not enough has been done.
But let me
This is
let me
something that's
okay. Let me ask it to you this way: what happened to George Floyd? Everyone from our generation saw that on television and saw that, and for us older folks, we've even seen Rodney King and things like that. Knowing what could happen when you fight back or struggle with police leads me to ask you this question: why do you think so many folks continue doing that?
I think it's just because of the fear that they have caused. A lot of people know that systematically they cannot fight against the law when it's stacked against their favor. So I can't speak for everyone, so I don't know what their experience is. I mean, look at me. I look like a cop. I'm fucking white, but cops just wave at me. uh,
Okay.
Classic Bill Burr joke there. But I think it's just when you're being confronted by people whose jobs are more to restrain you rather than de-escalate the situation, then I think that in terms of like who the responsibility should be on, it's the person who's supposedly received training and is meant to keep the peace. Obviously, citizens need to be held accountable for their own actions, but the ones who I want to hold accountable first are the quote unquote peacemakers.
Right. Well, let me say it this way, okay? And just like what you're saying, Skid Airborne in the comments, he also said because they're scared fool. The point I want to make is during and I understand folks being fearful of the law. When we see blue and when the blue lights are in your rearview mirror, most of us all get tense, palms sweaty, all of that stuff. But when I look at the history of the way police have been in this country, particularly towards folks who look like me, this current time we are right now is probably better than any other time in history, which leads to this question. If they didn't run in the Martin Luther King era, what sense does it make to suggest that in 2022, when you have cameras and there is more accountability, not saying that the police do not routinely do dumb shit, but there is more accountability toward police so far, so much so nowadays that it's not uncommon to hear police actually say, I'm quitting because we can't even do our job. So I don't get why folks in 2022 are suggesting that they're running because they're fearful when they didn't run in the Martin Luther King era and when it was actually dangerous. So I
Yeah.
don't. That's what's eluding me. What is your take on that?
Well, that's an interesting point. And the way that I see it is obviously, with body cams and with accountability being at the forefront of everything right now. I took a couple law enforcement classes, and one of the first things that was talked about was establishing a positive presence in the community because there's so much doubt and there's so much fear. So I
Right.
understand that as of right now, it is probably one of the better times in history. However, when something like Jayland Walker happens, or George Floyd, or Amir Locke, or any of these situations that, would literally take days to get through all the cases and to cover everything, that shows that there's still work to be done. And obviously, there is no one size fits all solution. Every department's going to be different. Every department's going to have its own problems, and everywhere is going to have something that needs to be improved more so than another county that's like 30 miles away. But,
Right.
from my perspective, it's just like, I don't care what it is that needs to be done, but this needs to stop happening.
And I don't disagree with that. That's just what I'm trying to suggest is that we know these problems exist, and what we're doing right now is fighting for folks to have the right to run from police and not expect to die, which I totally agree that running should not be a death sentence. But when you look at what's taking place, there's the Sandra Bland's, the Tamir Rices, and Breonna Taylor's, but overwhelmingly, the folks who meet a bad ending with police are the ones who are fighting back and running. So it makes me wonder, why do folks continue to choose this path when it almost never has a good outcome? No matter how scared you are of police or how unfair you think they are, running never seems to have a good outcome. Yet they keep choosing this path. I don't get. That's the part I don't get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting too. I think it all stems from the fact that I don't think there's enough training for de-escalation with police officers. They have plenty of training for how to handle a threat or how to take down a threat or anything like that, or what tools they have at their disposal and how to use them. But I think one of the major things that will stop most of these tense situations is if they know how to de-escalate the situation, which, that's one of the reasons why law enforcement in
But
the United
how can
Kingdom
we
don't
make
even
it?
care.
Okay, are you're aware of the Jayland Walker case, correct?
I'm aware. I haven't
Okay,
done much research on it.
how could a police officer de-escalate that? He took off running at the first sign of lights. What can you do to de-escalate that?
I don't necessarily know. And I will admit that that mostly comes from the fact that I haven't extensively researched the Jayland Walker case. I most definitely should, but I guess I don't know. I admit I don't know.
Okay, and I'm just wondering because I do agree that there are plenty of Sandra Bland's, like I mentioned, and Tamir Rice type cases where there is room to de-escalate. But if a person takes off running at the first sight of you and leads you in a high-speed car chase, I don't see where there's any room other than making sure the guy has a gun before you fire. But at the end of the day, no matter how the Jayland Walker case turned out, it was going to be escalated because that's the way it started out. He himself started out by escalating the situation. So let's say the cops do everything right. It's a high speed chase. They got to chase the guy down. Let's take the potential firing of a weapon out of the picture and assume it's a firecracker. Even then, once you got the guy cornered, he jumps out and continues running. He's not leaving you any room at all to de-escalate that. At the very least, you're going to end up tasing or tackling the guy. It's going to
Right.
be an aggressive arrest no matter what you do because of his actions.
Right. And obviously those situations I would need to think about, and I would need to come up with, well, what's the best way to handle them? And obviously I'm not a law enforcement officer, so I don't know what the protocols and what the best approaches are. But, I also think about, you also mentioned like, why is there so much fear and why are there so many situations where they do take off running? And one of the first things that came to mind was something that happened fairly recently with our very good friends, the Supreme Court, where they ruled that police officers cannot be sued or police departments can't be sued if they fail to read the Miranda rights. So now,
Wow.
as of right now, I think about, or listen to that, and I think to myself, well, that just goes to show that law enforcement officers have more power now than they ever have throughout history. Obviously, I would need to do some fact checking into that and look into at what point did they get checks and balances that we see today. But just hearing that on a level of like a surface value and taking it with a grain of salt, that sounds to me like that's
That
just
sounds like
what's
that sounds like you're giving them a bit more power than even the Constitution should have given. I agree with
right.
that.
Right,
But
exactly.
everybody knows, regardless of if you get fearful or not, we all know the power in keeping your mouth shut. I think that as opposed to teaching each other that you should run from the police because you can't trust them, you should teach folks to keep your mouth shut and ask for a lawyer because you can't trust them. Just stick with the phrase, am I being detained? If not, I would like to leave. If I'm being detained, I would like a lawyer. And just leave it at that. All of that running stuff is worse than that.
Right. And I would absolutely be in favor of like educating our citizens on that sort of thing. But the trouble is, not everyone knows about that. Not everyone has
Yeah.
like a good understanding of the legal system. And
Right.
obviously, like it's not their burden to know that. If you have rights, you should be able to have access to them regardless of if you know them or to what extent you know them. But I just think like from me personally, I feel like the solution is not necessarily in our citizens, but more so in our law enforcement officers.
I definitely believe that what you mentioned before. I think under all circumstances, the primary job of a police showing up to a scene should be de-escalation. I agree with that. But unfortunately, when you get a case like Jayland Walker, there is no room for de-escalation. We're just criticizing the police because we believe with the 60 damn shots or whatever, 90 shots, 60 strikes, that they went too far. But there is no denying that Jayland Walker earned some form of aggression. It might have just been tackling him, tasing him, chasing him down, but he is the one that authored what am I looking for? Escalation in this, not de-escalation, but escalation in it because he didn't leave the police any room to de-escalate.
Right.
Okay.
I think
All right. Well, listen, I
I
got to
think
part
there's
ways as usual. I'll give you the last word though.
Oh, okay. Um
Okay.
yeah, I guess it's mostly just coming from the perspective of I think Chris Justice puts it the best where right now we're in a state where we give the police military grade weapons, but we don't have the same checks and balances that the military has. Because you would take a situation like, let's take Breonna Taylor just for example, and swap out police officers with the military. Think about what would happen if the military was in that situation. There's no question of what would have happened next. They would have been dishonorably discharged. They would have been court
Yeah.
martialed, possibly facing war crimes. As of right now, we don't have that in place with the police system. It seems more so about establishing order than demanding justice. So,
All right.
just from
You
my
know something,
perspective
but
as
I
a
kind
Minnesota,
of you know
go
something,
ahead.
but I kind of wonder if a lot of these citizens that are fighting back with police were looking down an AK-47 from foreign military, would they respond in the same way? I think a lot of times we're seeing citizens that feel strongly that you can't shoot me. So I'm gonna fight back or I'm gonna take off running because I know that even though you're aiming a gun at me, it's an empty threat. If you were in a situation like Red Dawn or something where you knew that that person was going to shoot you, chances are you probably wouldn't run or fight back as much.
Mm-hmm.
Get my
Right,
point?
and
Yeah.
there's also the night and day scenario to the most recent New York Buffalo shooting, in terms of how police handled the situation. Because everyone, reasonably so, is upset that someone like him, who gunned down X amount of people in a literal hate crime, he surrendered to the police and he was walked away in handcuffs. And then Jayland Walker, he walked away with about 60 different bullets in him. That's something Obviously, you can go into the details of the
I've
different
heard that.
situations.
Yeah, and I've heard that quite often. And I guess my only response to it, and I hate trying to defend anybody that's been involved in something as horrible as that Buffalo shooter, or the guy who also shot up everybody in Highland, Illinois, outside of Chicago on July 4th. He too was taken down peacefully. And the only thing I would say is this: when you look at the Buffalo mass shooter that shot up the supermarket, or the guy that shot up the July 4th parade in Chicago, both of their arrests were captured on television. In both cases, you got the shooter facing law enforcement on all sides, aiming long rifles at them. Look at how they responded to law enforcement aiming guns at them compared to how Jayland Walker responded to law enforcement aiming guns at him. And
Right.
that would say a little bit probably as to why Jayland Walker's ending was not as well as theirs. Now I don't favor shooting anybody 60 times. I'm not a fan of that, and I think that's excessive. But I'm just simply saying you could go into Walmart and steal a bag of potato chips, and if the manager calls the police on you and you act like Jayland Walker, chances of you having a bad ending are going to be elevated because of how you're responding when in front of the police. I got to move it on, you know what, like I said, but I appreciate you coming through, man.
And I appreciate you
All right.
extending the time a little bit so I could make a couple more points. Everybody, be
Absolutely.
safe.
You're welcome
Everybody,
back.
be safe. Make good choices, and don't forget to wear your seatbelt.
Okay, catch you later. All right, going back to the boxes. Somebody in the comments said, Benji looked like said, all of this is over a minor traffic violation. Good point. And the response I would have is, why would you take off running at high speed over a minor traffic violation? Running from the police, particularly in the wee hours of the morning when the streets are clear, almost never ends well. So if you get pulled over for speeding or running a red light or, not stopping for a stop sign, and you decide to escalate it to a high-speed police chase, it's not going to end well. The chances of you getting away from the police at that time of morning when they got the streets all to themselves is very, very low. So when you question how could all of this happen over a minor traffic violation, some of that has to be placed on Jayland Walker refusing to stop. Okay, going back to the box, J-Dubbed. We'll go to J-Dubbed.
And like I said, I hate looking like, I'm on the wrong side of it, but I don't know what else to say. You can't just allow somebody to take off. Jay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man.
Hey, what's up? Where am I getting this wrong at, man?
I don't think you're really getting anything wrong. It's just a certain understanding that you gotta have about the situation. It's like you gotta think about it, right? Let's say you got a bunch of guns pointed at you or whatever, and you run, get shot like the Jaylen situation, right? All right.
Right.
It's easy to understand that running away would lead to that sort of escalation with, the way police are nowadays. But then at the same
Right.
time, if you let them arrest you, you get done like George Floyd. So it's like
Well, George
it's really
Floyd did
hard.
not let them arrest him either, if you really want to look at it. And once again, what happened to George Floyd was atrocious. And I think Derek Chauvin should spend the rest of his life in prison. But George Floyd did not let them arrest him. He was fighting back the whole time, too.
Yeah, but you see, they still like on top of that, like with Jaylen, they shot him 60 times and then put handcuffs on him. It's like they just always go so far. They find a way around. They tend to find a way around. If you don't run, you get choked out. If you run, you get shot down. It's too many. It's just too many things that they do to. It's just unavoidable. It's unavoidable. It doesn't matter if you lay down or if
Well,
you run.
here's where I disagree. I guess I would say I would play it on the numbers. Now, is there a chance that if you go yes sir, no sir, and keep your hands on 10 and 2 that you still may get killed? Yeah, I think you have Ahmad Diallo or whatever his name was, where he had a gun in the glove compartment, did everything the police told him to do, and he still died. But when you look at the overwhelming majority of the folks that are losing their lives, it's folks who are actively resistant, rather verbally, physically, or running. I'm not going to say that complying guarantees you a good outcome, but it does increase your chances substantially. When anytime they say his name and they talk about somebody that was mistreated by police, the overwhelming majority of them were fighting or resisting. Does that does that not make sense?
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. I definitely agree with that. The only thing is, obviously, it's gonna be hard. Like with the with the two evil sides of the coin, it's really hard to really make the correct decision in that situation when you have a bunch of cars chasing you down. It's just hard because you don't really know. Like, oh, if I just follow all the instructions, I might still die. But if I run, then maybe there's a chance I could get away and not
But
die.
nobody gets away. And by the way, Philando Castile. I said the wrong name. Philando Castile is the one that had the gun in his glove compartment. I see somebody correcting me in the comments. Appreciate that. But almost no one gets away when they run. Hell, even Chris Rock had a stint suggesting that if you run from police, an ass kicking comes with it. So that's all I'm saying is no matter how fearful you are of police. I don't get why folks keep continuing to choose the runaway option when that is almost never successful.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. It's not successful, but it's still that fear. It's hard to think straight when you're actually put in that situation. Like I done
Well,
been stopped by.
I'll let you continue, but let me give you an example. Imagine you're hanging out with Martin Luther King and you're going to do a sit-in an all-white restaurant. Now, when the minute that manager calls the police, you're sitting in a restaurant that says whites only. You're sitting in a restaurant and he picks up the phone. I'm about to call the police on you N words. When they come, they're going to arrest you, and there's probably some ass kickings that are going to come with that. And they didn't run. But yet you get pulled over for going through a stop sign in 2022 with all these cameras and you're going to run now? That's what I don't get.
I think those situations are kind of different. I think back then in those situations, it's kind of had to stand for something, so you really couldn't run because then if you run, then are you really standing for what you were there for? Like, how could you do a sit-in but then you run away? That doesn't make sense. You have to stay there to really stand for what you're trying to stand for. But now I think it's just a lack of courage nowadays also. It's like people just want to get away with their lives nowadays. That's really all it is. Like, we just want to get away with our lives. That's it. So whatever whatever decision you may just think in the moment, fueled by your fear, that's what's gonna happen. It's fight or flight.
Okay. Well, that's something in addition to retraining the police, which I believe is absolutely necessary. It's not going to all come from just simply retraining the police. As long as you have citizens that take off running, we're still going to have some problems because, like I pointed out to the previous caller, the minute Jayland Walker took off running, he escalated that situation. No matter how well you train police, his outcome is likely to be bad because of all of the things he did that night. And so I'm 100% in favor of retraining the police, but you got to teach the citizens better as well. Like, you can't do this.
No, no, of course, of course. I'm pretty sure most people know that you're not supposed to really run from the police. It's just, it's because I feel like the number one predicator of that is the fear of the police. So if we can just try and lower that fear, I think people will run away less because I'm not sure where it is that I don't heard about this, but I think it was in Thailand that the police over there are actually like very into the community over there, and that like a form of respect that they do over there, the citizens is what they'll do is they'll get out of their cars and actually go to the police officer's car with their license and everything and hand it to them, because I don't think they would have that fear of the cops
Yeah.
doing
Well,
drive-bys on them.
I still think that there would be fear to some people because, keep in mind, no matter how nice the police are to you, they can still write you tickets and things like that. So they still can hurt, they can still harm your life even if you deserve it. I mean, if you're speeding, you're speeding. Doesn't matter how friendly they are to you. If they're going to write you a $200 or $300 ticket, that's going to make you tense because it's going to make your insurance go up. You're going to have points on your license. No matter how friendly that cop is to you, writing you that $200 or $300 ticket that raises all of these things up in your life is going to bring fear to you. Real quick, Sleepy TV in the comments said running, believe it or not, this is somebody actually said this. Running is not escalation. The minute you start running, they're on their radios calling for backup. You're driving through town, putting everybody that's on the street at night at risk because you may hit somebody because you're speeding and going through stop signs and red lights. If that does not qualify as escalation to you, one cop, one car is trying to pull you over. And because of your actions, there's now 5, 10, 15 cops on the road looking for you, trying to chase you down. And you don't see any escalation in that at all. Okay. All right. I'm going to assume, Jay, you don't agree with that.
I would say it depends on the situation. If you're like driving off, then yeah, of course that's escalation. Obviously,
Well,
you're in a
let me. I'll
vehicle,
let you
so
continue, but let me just say it this way. Anytime what you're doing make more officers have to come and actually get into the mix because of your actions, that's escalating. Only one officer was going to deal with you and write the ticket. Now all of a sudden, because of your actions, 5, 10, 15 officers are involved. You don't see the escalation in that?
I mean, if you're running on foot, I don't think you need 20 officers to come take you down. I mean, it really depends when it comes to that, because if you're running in a car, obviously yes, 100, that's escalation. You're putting other people around you in danger. That's just a completely dangerous situation right there. But if you're just running on foot and you're unarmed, one officer could probably take you down, depending on
Yeah,
the
but what
size
if the
difference
guy
and all
can't
that.
catch you? What if the one dude chasing you can't catch up to you?
Yeah, that's true. But then if they're running away, it's no weapon or nothing. You could just catch, because they have their connection. So obviously, there's probably another cop down the block that'll see you and catch you. So it's not like they
Okay, and I've
necessarily have to run into you.
okay, I've heard that. I've heard that scenario before. They had his license. They knew who he was. Why continue this chase? Why not just catch up to him later? I've heard people say that. Let me ask you this. Let's say you're in your house asleep at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and you hear someone breaking your house. You grab your firearm to protect your home and you take out somebody, and you have to go through all of the legal proceedings that normally involve shooting someone in self-defense. Even if you shoot someone in self-defense, there's often a lot of legal issues. Hopefully you don't get arrested, but there's always legal issues when you shoot someone in self-defense. And you, after going through all of this, hiring lawyers and all of that, find out it's Jayland Walker, somebody that the police had in their sights, but they let him go, and he ran through the neighborhood and broke in your house to hide. And now you dealing with all of this because they let him go. Would you not be angry at the police?
Yeah, but if it was me being put in that situation, of course I'd be upset.
Would you think they should have stopped him when they had him in their sights?
Yeah, of course. When we're put in a personal situation, we wish for the best of our own situation. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'm just asking that because when folks say we should have just let him go and catch him later, you don't know what this guy is going to do. You don't just let him. I mean, he's running off into the community. You don't. I mean, he's already shown his desperation when he jumped out of the car and took off running. You can't just let this guy go and he could potentially harm someone else. And then we would obviously have to throw in the fact that they already believed he had shot at police. So
Yeah, no, I
I'm not
understand
going
with
to.
his situation, the firearm kind of made the letting him go option kind of threw that out the window.
Right,
So in that
right.
situation, no, like that situation, he ran off in the car, then he hopped out on foot. There was already the suspicion of the firearm and everything. That option was already out the window. The only thing there was, like, they didn't need to do a squad firing on him. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
with all the cops there, they could have
hundred
they could
percent.
have gotten him. I mean,
I,
even just hitting him with the car probably would have been a lot better.
I will say this also, considering the fact that Jayland Walker had on a ski mask the entire time. If they had to let him run off into the community, he essentially would have gotten away because the minute they catch up to him and arrest him later on, all you have to do is say that wasn't my car, or better yet, my car was stolen. Rather, my car was stolen, and you can't prove I was driving, so you have no case. If he asked for a lawyer, which anybody worth their salt would do, and then they arrest him and say, "Look, we had you on camera. Yeah, you got away that night, but we're coming to arrest you now." If he starts singing Shaggy, that wasn't me, like the song Shaggy had, that wasn't me. I mean, what can they do? They don't have any proof it was him. So then we would be saying that here they go arresting another innocent black man with no proof at all. So it just, to me, I don't see any benefit to letting this guy run off.
Nah, 100%. In that situation with Jayland Walker, there was no letting him go. Definitely, 100%.
Okay. All
You
right,
couldn't
and
do that.
we agreed that the shoot. We agreed that we agreed that the amount of rounds was excessive. I don't think anyone is disagreeing with that. But yeah, I think we come into an agreement also that you can't just let the guy run away.
No, of course not.
All right,
That's what
fair
it's
enough.
just. They could have chased him down. They could have chased
Right,
him down like they would have done to anyone else.
fair enough. All right, man. I appreciate you coming through. Let me move it on.
All right, man. You have a good day.
Hey, you too. Take care. All right. And real quick, somebody said we're speculating they could have
them. In regards to tasing Jayland Walker, I believe they actually did try to do that. So I believe there's evidence to show they tried to tase him and the tasers were not effective. I guess they could have continued running after the guy for sure. But if you believe he has a firearm on him, and there was no way for them to know he was not armed. I mean, if a guy has shot at you and then he jumps out of the car and takes off running, do you just automatically assume that he's left the gun in the car? So, I mean, this is the point I'm trying to make is this. In regards to police interactions with the public, do not ever put the safety of your life in the hands of police. Do not ever do anything under the guise that, well, they're not going to kill me if I do this, or they're not going to hurt me if I do this, or the law says they can't do this. Don't play games with your own safety, which is exactly what you're doing when somebody aims a gun at you and you ignore their instructions. Well, he's not going to shoot me. Don't play games with your safety like that. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I'm gonna bring on 52 Cent. Somebody say, "Oh my God, Corey Johnson said got what he deserved. He didn't deserve 60 rounds. That's crazy. You really think the guy deserved to be shot 60 damn times?" 52 Cent. Good afternoon.
Tim, what did you do for work all your life?
I've done work as a telecom engineer. I've done work in the courier field. I've done a lot of different gigs, man. But
All right.
I've had a lot of technology jobs.
I've been in management and I've been in automobile sales and mainly sales all my life.
Okay.
Now, here's something I want your viewers to just think about for a second.
All
When
right.
I'm selling cars, the worst thing that could happen is I go out to show a car and the battery's dead or a tire is flat. In your job, you get shocked by something a little bit, there's stuff that can go wrong, but the stuff that goes wrong isn't something that's going to end your day. You go pump up the tire, you go
I'm
jump
gonna
the
let you
battery.
continue. Okay, I get where you're going. I'm gonna let you continue. I just want to respond to a comment. Frederick Woods in the comment said, "But bro, you're thinking rational. You haven't encountered this situation." Well, he was pulled over for a minor traffic violation. We all have encountered that situation. We just didn't take off running. So yeah, once you take off running and you escalate the minor traffic violation, now you're in a realm of an area where most people have not encountered. But make no mistake about it, you're in that situation because you decided to run. Just pull over, like 99.9% of the rest of the public will do. Go ahead, 52.
The point I'm trying to make is this. When a policeman approaches your car, 40 minutes prior to him stopping you for your busted tail light or your tinted windows or your loud music, where was that police officer? Did he just leave the site of a 16-year-old girl that blew her brains out with her dad's pistol? Did he just leave a site where a little old man got hit on his bicycle and his brains were spread out on the road? Where was that cop 30 minutes before he met you? Why is he in a bad mood? why is he seeming like stopping you was an inconvenience of his day? It's because of what he just went through. And
Yeah,
we
but you
can't put
can't. Yeah, but
ourselves.
you can't. Yeah, I mean, if you dial AT&T to talk about your phone bill, and they just got cussed out from the previous customer, that doesn't mean they get to treat you like shit because the previous customer treated them bad.
It
I
doesn't.
don't agree with that
I'm
part.
not. I'm not condoning them treating you like shit. But where is our empathy for them?
Okay. And I don't disagree with that. But I guess I would say this, and I used to work. I use that example because I used to work for AT&T, and every outage was very important to the customer. And yeah, you get customers cussing. What you do is you take a break. If you just came from a scene and an old man got his brains blasted out, and you know you're shaky or something like that, take a break. Don't pull somebody over knowing that you're not in your mental faculties or you may do something wrong.
Well, I watched that Jayland Walker video live when the police were showing the footage that they had and how they were explaining the sequence of events. Now,
Right.
everybody says you can't shoot somebody for a traffic stop. No, you really shouldn't shoot somebody for a traffic stop. I agree. Did he deserve to die? Very few of us deserve to die. There's been a few who had it coming, but very few of us deserve to die. However, when he got stopped for that offense, like you said, had he taken his ticket, went about his day, everything would have been fine. But the minute he chose to take off in that car, that affected your cousins, that affected your parents, that affected your boyfriend or girlfriend, that affected everybody between when he left that scene at a high speed and when his car was stopped.
Yeah.
Now he's put everybody in the mix, not just the cop, not just him, but your family, my family, everybody's family is now involved in his decision. It wasn't the
Yeah.
cops. The cops didn't pull him over hoping they could chase him. They pulled him over to stop him. He made that choice to endanger the entire population that was between where he started and where he stopped. Now, on
Yeah.
top of that, he fired a gun. Now they say, well, maybe he wasn't aiming for the cops. Well, bullets start somewhere and they stop somewhere. And once they start, where they stop, you don't have much control over. So everything
There,
that was anywhere within the range of that bullet, however many yards that was endangered. Those were all innocent people he endangered. Now,
yeah. And I see
at what
just real
point as
quick.
a society do we hold people accountable that endanger us all?
Well, in regards to that question, I will say that in my opinion, if Jayland Walker had taken one or two rounds, even if it caused him to lose his life, I think the outcry on him would be much less. It's the fact that he got shot so many damn times, but because I strongly believe, even though the shooting was incredibly excessive and unacceptable, I believe he was a justifiable shoot at least once or twice based on the totality of the events. I don't buy that he was just, a nice dude that got pulled over and ran because he was scared. I don't, the ski mask and that, folks are suggesting that wearing a ski mask is somehow the style or what they do in Akron, Ohio in the middle of summer, in the middle of night. I don't buy all of that. And or even the notion that he was running because he was scared. Either he was trying to commit an act of losing his life by police officer, you know how that works, or he was out committing some type of a caper. But just an innocent guy, because he had no prior police history. So just an innocent guy doing nothing wrong got pulled over and decided to do all of that out of fear. I don't buy that. I really don't. And I'm also not necessarily buying that a police officer could not determine the difference between a firecracker and a firearm. I don't buy that either because the guy is suggesting not only did he say shots fired, but said, he fired a shot out of the window. So he's looking at the car and see the flash. Now, only other way that could be a firecracker is if somebody threw a firecracker out of the window of their apartment building or something, and it landed on top of his car and it went off, and it appeared to be in the car. But I'm willing to admit that, no denying, it is incredibly excessive what the police did. But all of these excuses being made up for Jayland, I don't buy that stuff. I think the guy put himself in that situation. Go ahead, 52.
Well, here's the thing. If you had 10 cops lined up and they're at a target range and they flip around the target of the bad guy or they flip around the target of a good guy, those 10 cops got to make a split-second decision for their own lives. Now, you had, I think they said there was a total of 12 police officers there. 8 of them fired rounds. Now, if one cop would have popped off his clip, you could say that guy made a mistake. But I cannot at all imagine that 8 cops simultaneously were not in fear at the same time. So now you've got 8 policemen shooting at you.
What about reflex firing? You know, if my partner sees a threat, I must see one too and just jump in on the shooting even though you see nothing.
Okay, that may work for half of them. But now let's say that's only 4 other ones still felt that they were threatened. And they made a decision to fire the rounds in their gun. And I guarantee when they got up and put their uniform on, they weren't going out planning on shooting somebody. That really fucked up their day. Yeah. But to say it's an excessive amount of rounds isn't fair because there was 8 of them shooting. 8 of them felt threatened. Or even if you say reactionary, okay, 4 of them felt threatened. If it's a justifiable shooting, it's like saying you consented to sex, but you didn't consent to sex twice. You know, once, and they say, well, they yelled cease fire. You're firing a weapon. They didn't have the privilege of putting on ear protection or, you know, they weren't in a controlled environment. How are you supposed to hear somebody at the far end of the room saying ceasefire when you're at the other end and shots are going off?
And let me say this real quick. Sam Oman in the comments said, imagine fearing for your life when it's 8 versus 1. When they tried to make that original traffic stop on Jayland Walker, the one he ran from, I'm sure there was not 8 police officers in one car. So there was only 8 versus 1 because he kept running from people. So that's all I'm saying is when you point to all of the overkill, even though there's a clear-cut case of definite overkill, in my opinion, but there was not 8 officers dealing with Jayland Walker in the beginning. He chose to run, and in effort to catch him, more officers joined the fray. So he's responsible for that lopsided number. Go ahead, 52.
Well, what I'm saying is if sex was justified the first time, what does it matter if they sexed you once or 60 times? If
Don't
it's justified, it's justified.
Do not use that at a rape trial. That won't help you.
No, I couldn't think of any other context to put it in simple. But, you know, if the shooting is justified, doesn't matter if it was 1 bullet or 1,000,000. If it's justified, it's justified. Yeah. If it's not justified, then it matters.
Yeah. And Be Best 1973, you asked, do black men have a right to be fearful of police? I've said before, based on the history of police, absolutely, I can understand that. I'm just simply saying, when you watch TV, you watch the media, running from police almost always ends badly. No matter how scared you are of police, do not choose that path. It does not come with a good ending. I don't care how scared you are. That is the worst thing you can do is take off running. We're talking about Jayland Walker. We started with Rodney King, and there's a host of folks in the middle like Dante Wright and all. Running is a bad choice. That's all I'm saying. I'll let you wrap it up, though, 52.
Well, all these people try to compare what happened to that mass shooter when he surrendered and he didn't get shot. Had that man who had 15 or 20, like you said, long rifles pointed at him, had he dropped down, spun around, act like he was pulling something out of his pocket, he'd have got shot 60 times.
Yeah.
He would have been Swiss cheese that even the Swiss wouldn't have recognized.
And I would also bring up the African American that got on the right before that Buffalo shooting at the supermarket about a month earlier. There was an African American this year that got on the subway and shot up a bunch of people. And he was walking the streets at a Burger King or something like that. And folks recognized him and called him in. He was taken peacefully because he didn't go Jayland Walker on the police. He didn't take off and run. So I just want to show you that you can be African American and be involved in a mass shooting and get taken in peacefully. Just do not emulate what you've seen from Jayland Walker. We can point to how excessive it is, or running is not a death sentence or whatever. I'm just simply saying, do not put the safety of your life in the hands of someone else. Do not do that.
I mean, the bottom line is the family lost a son, the family lost a brother, lost a cousin, lost a nephew. I understand that. However, if you climb up in, well, this is I don't want to do that. If you get in your car and you drive 110 mile an hour and you aim for a tree and you hit the tree and you die, they still lost a brother and a son and a cousin and a nephew. But you caused it. At some point, and we are too quick to misjudge the police. The police are hired by us to protect us. Yes, there are police that go overboard, and it happens every day. But there are also criminals that go overboard, and they push the police. Well, I don't need to give you my name. I don't need to give you my license. You don't have any business stopping me. Yes, they fucking do. Give them your goddamn license, shut your mouth, and let them tell you what's going on. And the possibility that you were only going to get a warning just went the fuck out the window. You're getting a ticket, and you might get two.
Fair enough. All right, man. You know how that works. Always a pleasure.
I love you, brother, and good luck.
No shit. All right, catch you later. All right, listen.
Like I said, folks are talking about it's not a death sentence and all of that. You must love your rights being violated. At the end of the day, come home. You know, as Ice Cube once said in the movie Friday, come back. You know, at the end of the day, come back to the crib. All of this talking shit and running, come back. Before anything, I want you to come back home. You know, all of this other stuff you guys are talking about, come back to the crib. So make that your primary goal. Running from the cops and all of this other shit and hoping that, well, if I run, if I fight back, they have to follow the law and they won't do this or they can't do that. Why put your life, the safety of yourself, in the hands of them? I mean, just come back. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, if you were going down the street and 2 or 3 dudes jumped out of the cars with long rifles and ski masks on and said, "Give me your wallet, give me your car keys," you would comply with that because you know they will shoot. Because we believe the cops will not do anything, it's emboldened the citizens to do stuff that they normally wouldn't do and shouldn't do. Now, I'm not saying that the cops should go Jayland Walker and shoot you up a bunch of times. I'm just simply saying you are not looking out for your own best interest by putting yourself in that position to begin with. Going back to this should be interesting, Sleepy TV.
Looking forward to talking to you. I can't allow your weakness to disarm my integrity.
Sheesh.
Sleepy.
Peace and Black Power.
Tell me where I'm going. You've been in the comments. Good to hear from you.
Great to hear from you too, bro. Peace and Black Power. So look, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hear me well, dog. Right. So, you know me. I do my research. My ears to the streets. I'm listening. I'm looking for this type, like for understanding, really. So, what we know about this police case is that Jayland got away the night before. Okay.
Why did you run then?
He did run then. He got away.
No, I'm saying, what? He got away from what?
He got away from the police the night before.
Right. So he had ran away.
He ran away once before.
Why?
Probably the same reason he ran this time, sir.
So in other words, he wants to enjoy driving privileges, but if anybody ever attempts to stop him, he's going to run away.
maybe that's his perception of the police. I can't interpret Jayland's perception. I can only look at the
Okay.
evidence. I can't think. I
All
can't
right.
get into the head of this young man. I can only postulate what his mindset might have been. I can only describe these things. Okay, so now that
Well,
I can
and I get that. I'm just giving it to you. I'm listening to what you're saying and just speaking
right.
to it from your. Let's assume Jayland Walker was a good guy and he just always ran away because he was frightened of police. I'm just simply saying a condition of driving a car in America means if the police put the blue lights on you, you got to stop. You can't. I'm fearful. So anytime the police pull me over, I'm going to run. You can't do that.
Well, listen, that's his perception. That's once again, I cannot get into the mind of this young man. I can't.
Well, nobody can now because
Right.
he's gone. But go ahead.
So listen. So right. So we know that Jayland got away the night before this incident even happened. Okay. So we all know
Okay.
how the police work. But if you get away from the police, they're not happy. If they catch you again, they're gonna make sure that they get you. That's the point.
Well, you got to admit also when you run from police, if the police try to pull you over and you take off running, you would have to admit that that person is a danger to other folks on the street running away at high speed, right?
If I'm operating under the perception of the police, for sure, yes, I'm going to say that this person is then a danger.
What about as a citizen? Let's say you're about to cross the street and you see the police coming down the street chasing a dude that's driving well above the speed limit. As a person on the street, a regular citizen, do you think that person is a danger?
Now, again, am I operating into my own perception? I know why the look. I can understand. I can make certain inferences why he be running because I understand how the police and their temperament are.
So if you see somebody running from police on the street, and you don't know what's going on. Your first inclination is that they're running because they're scared.
I mean, yeah, because they would have stopped if
Okay,
they
all
weren't.
right. What if they just robbed a bank or killed somebody or
They're
just got caught
scared to be
involved
caught,
in a
so they're
drive-by?
gonna run. They're scared to be caught, so they're gonna run.
Okay, but they may be a criminal.
That's fine. Criminals be scared of people
Okay,
too.
all right. That's what I'm trying to find out. Okay,
That's all I'm
continue.
saying. Criminals are
I get it.
scared
Okay,
too.
I get it now.
You know what I'm
All
saying?
right.
So when it comes to this stuff, right? And then, right? We got the report that what really escalated this, not the fact that Jayland decided to run, was the fact that there was a gunshot, quote unquote, right?
No, I disagree with that. The
Okay.
minute you run from police, and the reason I call it an escalation is when
Hmm.
you get pulled over by police,
Right.
at maximum, there's going to be either one driver or two. Now, if you're in some of these smaller suburbs and they ain't got nothing going on, sometimes another car will pull up as backup. But
Right.
generally, when you get pulled over, you're being stopped by one or two officers.
But this is Akron.
The minute you start running, that number of officers involved in dealing with you escalates. So even before the shot, Jayland Walker escalated the situation by running because now all of these other cops are on the radio. The dispatch is clearing the frequency because
For
you got
sure.
a
Let's
guy
say
running through town. Go ahead.
wonderful. Let's say he escalated the situation by running due to whatever reasons he decided to run. Now we cannot say that another escalation was the fact that there was a gunshot heard.
Well, that just escalated it further.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Now
So
it's a
look,
dead.
right.
Yeah, it went
So
from
look,
a
my
it
point
went
is
from
this
a
though.
car chase to a
My
deadly
my
threat at
entire
that
point
point.
of saying this is that they would not have said, "Oh, um, I feel like they would have dealt with him differently had he decided to run. Had that not been the gunshot reported, they would have handled this differently."
Well,
I,
yes and no. Absolutely. Yes and no. I will say
I
this
feel as
though.
though if that gunshot was not reported, they would have been less likely to use excessive force because
Right.
if the gunshot was never reported, then they would not have an inclination to believe that the person was armed.
Well, let me say this. Anytime you run from police the way Jayland Walker did, you're going to be stopped at gunpoint, whether they heard a shot or not.
So cool. So at gunpoint is fine. So my thing is this though. There's a report that this man has a gun on him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So police are operating under this pretense, not just under the pretense that he's running. It's two different
Right.
pretenses that they operate under. They're like, yo, okay, they'll be like, this person's running, and it's different from this person is running with a weapon.
Okay.
So now we're at the point where Jayland he gets out on foot and he's fleeing them, actively fleeing them. He's not fighting. He didn't get out the car and start shooting. He got out the car and fled them.
Okay.
Right?
So
Well, but here, I guess here's where you and I probably disagree. When you do what Jayland Walker did, run at high speed, they got guns aimed at you, you're still trying to get away, you jump out of the car and take off running. It's not uncommon for police under that situation to think that you are a danger to them because you're showing how desperate you are. Yeah, maybe he has a gun, maybe he doesn't, but this guy has shown that he is totally desperate to get away. So do you just go up to him and put hands on when he's willing to fight like this? Or do you first make sure he's, you first ask to see his hands? Make sure this guy is safe because he has shown an incredible amount of desperation. And I'm talking about even without a shot being fired.
bro.
His actions showed an incredible amount of desperation.
I think his action showed a desperation for freedom. I don't necessarily think that he was
Yeah,
desperate.
people
Look,
will
look, because
kill
look,
you.
desperate
That's
to
my
you.
point. That's my point. A desperation for freedom. People will kill you if you interfere with their freedom. Give me liberty
Exactly,
or give me death.
but Jaylen ran, right? Because desperation to you and I is different. My version of desperation is a man getting out of the car and then firing.
Right. But
That's desperation because
what
go
I'm
ahead.
saying is that the police have actually tackled people that were unarmed, and that person tried to grab the officer's gun. I'm just simply saying people will kill you for trying to take away their freedom.
Right. So, but Jaylen ran, right? So my thing is, there's 8 officers there, right? The moment that he decides to run, instead of saying that he has the gun on him, why are all 8 officers? This is where training comes in. I made the point that they needed to be retrained, right? And I then
Okay.
gave specific examples of how retraining could be something like this. So if they are, if there's 8 officers, all of them in pursuit of Jaylen, it is one man. It does not take all 8 of them to go chase that one man. How about, let's say, 5 of them go pursue Jaylen, and the other 3 go make sure or go do the investigative work around the vehicle to then say what's going on with it, right? It's because
Well,
if
they're
they're
not gonna, that's not going to happen. You're
now why
not
is
going
it
to say
stops? Now why is that not going to happen? Because those 8 officers are going to
because
go chase Jaylen.
yeah, because Jayland Walker has been radioed in as a deadly threat. He's fired a shot at police. You're going to send all of your resources to first neutralize a threat before you go search the car. Let's
But
say,
here's
for
but
instance,
look,
let's say, for instance, Jaylen does have a weapon on him, and he has a quick draw. So he takes off, runs, takes shelter behind a tree, and the 5 officers, because you said 3 stopped behind there looking at the car, the 5 officers, let's say 2 or 3 of them get hit. Now they're short-handed because you got dudes behind just staring into a car. No, you send
no. So
everybody.
look, so let me hear you, let me correct you there. You're not staring into a car. They are looking for evidence to see if that man is still armed or not. That is good police work. Because hold on, stop. Let me
Nothing.
hold on.
Go ahead.
Now, if upon this scenario in which this squad is from 8, this is 8-on-1. Now, if there's 3 or 4 other people, I can see that you might need extra hands, but this is one person. Okay, so these 8 cops can then go do police work, go look in the car, and go find that the gun was found in the vehicle. Yo, he's unarmed. He's unarmed. He does not have a.
Okay, let me ask you a question. From the time Jaylen jumped out of the car to the time he was shot, how long did that take?
This was like maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
Yeah, so them looking in the car and
Yo,
radioing
yeah, it
he's
was quick,
unarmed
bro.
and the police hearing that over the radio and there wasn't hardly even enough time for that. But let me
And
also give you
that's
hold
because
on.
that's because they acted first. They shot first
Okay,
before they did police work.
let me also tell you from what you said. Let's say they looked in the car and saw the firearm and radioed that he was unarmed. And then once they got him on the ground and tackled him, they found out he had another pistol on his ankle. Was that a good call to make?
What, that he's unarmed?
Yeah, you said he's unarmed, and it comes out to come to find
Now
out the
we're
guy got
operating
2
now. Okay,
pistols
so
on him.
now we're operating under speculation. If Jaylen was found to have another pistol on him, yes, that would have been a bad call. But in this case, that is
Yeah.
not the same call. It's not the same
Well,
call
what I'm
because
okay. The point I'm trying to make to you is, if you look in the car and you see a firearm, that calling out that the man is unarmed is not factually true. You don't know if he has 1 weapon, 2 weapons. You don't
okay.
know
So
anything about this
to
man that
keep
suggests
talking
he's
about this
unarmed.
firearm that they found, this firearm was not fired.
Right. But that's now because we can Monday morning quarterback. But when you're
Yeah.
there on
But
the scene, there's no way you're going to look in the car, see that one gun, and yell out he's unarmed. He might have a knife on him. He might have anything else. You don't know.
That's
There's
how
no
these.
way you can yell out he's unarmed.
Okay, sure. Maybe unarmed was the wrong call. Sure. Let's say that
Yeah.
unarmed was the wrong call. Sure. But you can say you found a weapon in the vehicle that they attributed the gunshot have came from.
They didn't know that. They didn't even know that. For all you know, this dude could
The
have been
point
on a
is
rock.
the point
Oh,
we can sit here and live in the world of speculation all day long, and I respect the fact that you know that we hear and talking about it.
thank you.
But
Thank you.
the thing about it is this though. There has to be a severe if we want to keep this thing we call police a thing, there has to be severe retraining so that they can reconnect with the communities because that is in Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
Listen,
So let me ask you this question. Do you believe Jayland, I think I may have asked you this before, but do you believe Jayland Walker holds any responsibility for what happened to him that night?
I'm not alleviating Jayland of responsibility. That is not what I'm doing.
Okay. All right.
Now, he
Okay.
has a responsibility for running. However, the consequence for running should not be 60 bullets.
Agree.
And that's
But
where and that's where
I would suggest that if he got shot by one or two officers, like once or twice, it would be a justifiable shooting in my
so
case.
my thing is this
Because
though. The fact that those cops felt the need to play whatever they felt the need to play that day, that's what needs to be retrained. Okay? That's why I
okay.
made the point that a high school degree to go and serve your community is not the best way to go.
I think if you retrain police officers, no matter how you wanted to retrain them, what you think they should learn, Jayland Walker would still face a bad ending. He might have not got shot a bunch of times. He may have only got shot once or shot at once, but based on Jayland Walker's actions that night, I don't think you could retrain the police to the point where Jayland Walker would have a good ending. He actually inputted too many bad elements into that night himself. Now, the 60 shots, 90 shots, that is ridiculous. But like I said, if you had shot at him once or twice, he would have been deserving of that. So I
Well,
don't
my
think
thing
you
is
can.
that there are ways that this government uses different things to subdue different people. So when we go and take care of all this psyop stuff in other people's soil, and we need this information from these people, they are not murdering them in the street. They have different ways and different technology available to them so that they may subdue this person,
Okay.
aka
Well,
rubber bullets, aka
here's the point I don't. Here's what I don't get. We have these conversations, like me and you and
mhm.
folks in the audience are all talking about holding police accountable, retraining police, and the fact that police can go above and beyond because running should not be a death sentence. We all know this. We've had these talks with Jayland Walker all the way back to Rodney King. Knowing this, why continue to run? If you know the outcome is likely to be death or something horrible, why choose the running option right now when you know the problem has not been fixed?
Why choose the running option? Because they
Yeah,
also know that being arrested has also been fixed. They also understand that being arrested has caused people to die.
it ain't a lot of folks though. When you really look
It's
at it,
enough.
when you look at how many of us are dying in these controversial shootings, the overwhelming majority of us that are dying are resistant when it happens. There are like we brought up Philando Castile or whatever. There are some of those cases, but most of the cases where we're dying is when we're choosing the run or fight option.
Again, again, but we have to think about the antagonist in this sense. Okay, I understand they have a
I'm just
law.
talking about
I
coming home. I'm just simply talking about coming home. I don't want my parents to be on TV telling folks how bad the cops are. I'm talking about right now. I know if I got pulled over and I'm frightened of police, the running option is statistically is the worst option for me to choose. Do you not agree with that? That if you get pulled over, the running option is the worst option you could choose.
no, I believe that the worst option is to get out than fire at police. That's the worst option you can do.
Okay. All
That's
right.
the worst thing you can do. Running for
Okay,
your
what
life
about
because
the
you're
do
afraid of
you
your life.
think the running option as opposed if you got blue lights put on you right now, you're
Yep.
out 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, nobody's around, you're scared as hell. Do you think running is a better option than pulling over for the police?
I mean, me, I didn't do shit.
You said
I don't do
what?
shit. I said me, I
He
didn't do
didn't
shit. So,
either. According to
so
his family, he didn't do shit either.
well, that's untrue based off the report yesterday. From that's what happens. That's what
Exactly.
happens. Look. All I'm saying is this. This is what happens when you operate outside of the media's eye. When you go and look and do research for your own self, you can figure out this stuff anytime because the gun found in the car wasn't fired not once.
Okay.
Not
Well,
once.
is it possible, since we want to hold folks accountable for not necessarily telling the truth all the time, is it possible that the gun he did fire was thrown out the window during a high-speed chase in the middle of the night? I know it's speculation, but we're
It's
speculating on the police. Is that not possible that
to
could happen?
speculate. Hold on, I'm gonna give you like the painting in which they found the gun, right? So the speculation that he then flipped the gun out during this chase and then have another gun present on the seat with the cartridge out and I'm sorry, with the clip out and the gun visible on the seat. I don't see that to be true. I don't see him fleeing a gun out the window, then leaving the gun on the passenger seat for it to be found later. And only for
Okay.
it to be found later to be not fired not once. No gunshot residue found on Jayland on the autopsy. On the autopsy, there's no GSR found on his hands, meaning he did not fire a gun.
Right.
Meaning the police they operated under a false pretext. I understand that him running escalated the situation. I understand that fire or whatever they heard might have escalated the situation, but them not doing police work escalated the situation all in all
All right.
because they
Fair
they
enough.
decided
I
to
gotta
play
say,
gun range instead of detective.
I hate that we have to do all of this for these folks posthumously. I'm just going to simply say, for folks in the audience that are saying you could do everything the law asks you to do and end up dead, that is true. But that is not what we're generally dealing with. We're not generally dealing with the police pulling somebody over, walking up to their car, and just opening fire on them. I mean, how many
For,
videos have you seen of that? I mean, for the most part, it is people that are fighting and wrestling back. Now, we can
and
say
then
it
you made
shouldn't
the
be a.
point. You made the
Go
point you
ahead.
didn't believe in like the whole ski mask get up.
Yeah.
Um, like when you get off this live today, I want you to go look up Pooh Shiesty mask. Pooh Shiesty mask. You will see that it is a baklava style mask that a lot of people in their 20, I'll go to say 15 to like maybe high 20s. That's what you'll see because I'm speaking from experience. Because I be in a lot of places and I see a lot of people, and a lot of these people don't want to wear the COVID mask, so they wear the Pooh Shiesty mask. So this is a mask that is, it'll be found in a lot of places because it's fashion now.
Okay. I'm actually looking it up online, and
You can
it does.
you see
Yeah.
the rapper
I
wearing
see.
it. This is one of my favorite pictures of people in it. Let me show you. I'm gonna just turn on the mic and show you. Turn on the camera and show you real quick. This is one of my favorite pictures with people in the Pooh
Well,
Shiesty mask.
but I will tell you this though: if you got on that mask, how can they tell you're black if they're
How can they
behind
tell
you
anything
chasing
at
you?
all? Right. So how can they tell anything at all? So
Yeah, but
this
we're
requires
we're
them to do
assuming
police work.
we're assuming he got murdered because he was a black man.
Not even the same mask. This is definitely
Yeah.
the
But
same
you
mask.
get my point. You
I get your
can't
mask.
tell what race he is.
Now you just got done telling me some people that wear this mask. If you saw somebody with this mask on, the police gonna assume something. They're not gonna assume that it's a envelopian person walking around with this mask on.
Good point. All right, I gotta go. That you
All
made
right,
your
bro. I
point on
appreciate
that,
you
though.
having me on, bro. Peace and black
Yeah, I
power.
appreciate you. I appreciate. I'm gonna look more into that. I never had heard of that before, so appreciate the enlightenment.
Okay, looking at the comment, you wear that mask on me, I'm pulling out the burner, says. Oh my God. Something I will say this in regards to the mask, the Pooh Shiesty mask he's pointing out, is that, yeah, if you're in a 7-Eleven working the third shift, working in a gas station or something, how would you feel if somebody came in masked up like that at 2 a.m., 3 a.m.? Seriously, you're behind the register of a place that already is known to get robbed all the damn time. And this dude come in there wearing some shit like that. How might you feel? Just want to ask that. And I'm not saying any of this is a death sentence from police officers, but there has to be some accountability to how you move throughout society. You can't just expect the police to look out for you more than you look it out for your own damn self.
Patriot. Let me see if it brings them up. I'm hitting the button or calling 911. Yeah, exactly. Retro Air. It looks suspicious. Patriot, talk to me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
And so I was just I just requested earlier when you said people, if you get surrounded by like a group of criminals and they're pointing guns at you, telling you to comply, that most people would do that. And
Right.
I'm completely, like, I'm not left or right. I'm completely anti-government. I respect some police officers because I know they're just trying to do a job, but essentially the police departments, they're just government-funded gangs. They don't care about people's rights. It doesn't really matter which side you're on, what the color of your skin is. They don't care about your rights.
So let me ask it to you from this standpoint then. If you believe the police are just gangs in blue and they don't give a shit about your rights, you'd have to feel like if they're all pointing guns at me and they didn't care about my rights before they were pointing guns at me, it's probably not a good idea to refuse to comply.
Absolutely not. I think that one of the things that I have a problem with is a lot of people are getting too comfortable knowing or thinking that the police won't do anything, but people know that criminals will do something, and you should just assume that some police are criminals, because whether or not they have a badge doesn't mean they're going to enforce your rights. They're not going to protect your rights. Some of them will. Some of them are good people, but the organization as a whole, I just see it as a gang.
Right. So even though you're speaking totally anti-police on the guys that you can't trust them and all of that, you admit that not complying with police or following instructions could be to your detriment. It's not a good idea. And you're speaking on this not from a Blue Lives Matter standpoint, but just from simple logic that it's not safe to do that.
Yeah, I've had police just walk onto my property. They don't actually care, and you can say that, oh, well, I'll take them to court. I'll do this after the fact. And you might be able to sometimes. It depends on where you're at. And it depends on how that police department is structured. But
it's
each one,
it's an uphill battle.
They run these departments like a business. They have to make money. And in order to make money, they enforce their rules on people. It's not the rules that we want.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with what my last caller was saying, and I guess to some degree would probably follow along what you're saying, is that the police do need to be retrained. But I'm simply going to point out, in cases like what Jayland Walker did, no amount of retraining is going to guarantee a great outcome when you start doing stuff like that. Like I said, maybe he wouldn't have been shot 60 times because that's incredible. In fact, I think 99.9% of traffic stops would not end up with this guy. He definitely got his hands on some real trigger happy cops, and what they did was wrong. But him getting shot once or twice doing that is a high likelihood.
I don't think it had anything to do with race. I think that it just had these police officers. They had hired people who honestly probably just wanted to kill somebody. They just wanted a reason to kill somebody.
Damn. You think it was that bad? Wow.
I mean, I've had a police officer when I was 17 years old. I was sitting and I was smoking a cigarette on my back porch. This police officer pulls up in our neighborhood and starts questioning me whether I live in the neighborhood or not. And I'm like, no, I'm just standing in front of somebody's or in the back of somebody's house with just my pajamas on. And I was like, are you fucking retarded? And then I asked him a question. I said, how many guns do you have?
You didn't ask the police, are you fucking retarded, did you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I did.
Go ahead.
Anyways, this guy told me that he had so many guns in his trunk that he felt like he was in the Matrix. And I was just like, what in the fuck? Like, that's not the kind of answer. Yeah, that's not the kind of answer you want to hear from, someone who's supposed to be protecting people.
Well, but
that's like a delusional answer.
Yeah, but if he's looking through the neighborhood, trying to protect and serve the area, and he sees somebody that he doesn't think belong in the neighborhood, and you respond with, are you fucking retarded? That's not the answer he's looking to hear either. You got to understand that, right?
Yeah, but common sense, nobody's going to be standing with no shoes, no socks, pair of pajama pants, and no shirt in someone's yard. At least normally.
But then you have to call him a retard?
No, I didn't have to, but I was 17 years old. I was stupid.
Okay, so was Jayland Walker. I get that. I'm just simply saying that, they say for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's all I'm saying.
Well, absolutely. And I've been pulled over at gunpoint with, 20 to 30 cops around me, and they were trying to claim that I was shooting at somebody from my Mustang, and I was not. But of course, I did have a gun. They had me. They threw me on the ground. They stomped on they didn't stomp my head, but they put full force their foot on my head, held me into the pavement, and I had no choice but to comply because it's just at that point, that's when I started becoming more like seeing the cops as more like a government funded gang because my rights they had no reason to pull me over than just they claimed they heard that somebody in a Mustang was shooting at another Mustang.
Wow. Well, and that happens. I got a family member that got pulled over under that same situation where they thought he matched the description of a serial rapist, and they pulled him over at felony stop, incredibly aggressive, just like that. And I would hate to have I would hate to know how he may have reacted or what would have happened to him if he had said, "I'm not a rapist, you fucking retard." Because they pulled him over at gunpoint, guns on all sides. I mean, he literally broke down crying because it just scared the shit out of him. But that's the only point I'm trying to make is how you respond to their contact with you. Oftentimes, have a lot to do with the rest of that encounter.
Well, there's also a psychology factor with cops. So like there's a lot of cops that are good people. But they did a study and they showed that people generally they follow orders mindlessly, even if they know that the orders are wrong. And they've done a study and they showed this because what they did is they had a teacher and a student. They were ordered to shock when they answered the question wrong.
I've seen
And
that. I have seen that.
yeah, and they did that study to figure out how people in World War II how the Nazis could do that, do the kind of bad things they did. And I think that's still relevant today. I think people will still follow orders even if they feel like the orders are wrong. So if someone
Yeah.
ordered to shoot during that situation, everybody starts shooting, even if they don't think they should. You've got authoritative figures that are telling people what to do, and they're just mindlessly doing it because they're told by someone who's authoritative.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I asked one of my earlier callers, is that, yeah, what about the notion that once one cop shoots, his brothers in blue are going to, if he see a threat, there must be a threat and start fighting. Because just like if you get into a fight with a police officer, when other officers show up, even if he didn't call for their help, when they see him in a fight with you, they're going to jump in and take his side in regards to the fight, even though they have no clue what's going on. They see one of the brothers in blue fighting with a citizen, they're going to jump in on his side, and he may be totally in the wrong. So my guess is that when one cop started shooting, the rest of them just follow suit. There's no way in the world I believe all 8 of those police officers saw a threat from Jayland Walker. Now, they all did hear on the radio that he took a shot at one of them. They all heard that. So once he jumped out of the car, you're already looking at a guy that you believe is armed and is willing to use that firearm on police officers. He's running, and now he has one of our own shooting at him. He must be a danger. And that's what I think happened, is that there's no way I believe all 8 of them saw a threat in an unarmed man. But did he turn like he was going to aim, turn back towards one of them? Maybe so. But I think it was just, one fire, they all fire.
I think at the end of the day, like people, if whether or not because when you're learning to use a firearm, and they say if you're getting mugged and they got it to drop on you, right, and they have their gun pointed right at you, you don't have the chance to draw your gun. If you try, you'll get killed. And you take that same thing into factor when you get pulled over by the police. Like, you just make sure that they feel comfortable so they don't fucking do anything against you. Because if they do something wrong, you can go handle it in court.
Yeah, you don't have that chance if they don't hesitate. If they got a gun aimed at you, you don't have a chance to draw your weapon if they don't hesitate. But if you got a guy like Jayland Walker that's armed and he got the gun in an appendix carry, and the police are looking and trying to make sure he doesn't have a gun before they shoot, that may give him enough time to get a shot off.
Well, I mean, I think all parties involved in this situation are in the wrong, and it's unfortunate that he died. But jumping out and running, if the cops are chasing you, one, they generally pull their guns immediately at any car chase, anyways. Right. So they have their guns drawn already, and everyone knows that, because I know everybody's seen high-speed chases on TV, YouTube, whatever. And if you know that the cops are going to draw their guns out, why are you going to give them a reason to shoot, knowing that they might shoot, especially knowing that cops are just people. There can be good ones and bad ones.
Yeah, and I don't understand it, is that we want to hold cops to literally a standard of perfection. even though they're dealing with the worst of the worst every day. And it's just there is no amount of training you can do to make somebody that perfect. If they're dealing with folks like Jayland Walker, occasionally some Jayland Walkers are going to get shot. I mean, you have to also train the citizens to not be Jayland Walker. I mean, there's just no other way around it. Cops are not going to deal with that type of a situation 10 out of 10 times, and it is resolved peacefully. You got to tell folks at the end of the day, do not do what he did.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. I don't I don't hate on cops, and I know people in the comments think I probably do, but I don't hate cops. I know they're people, and I know there's good ones and bad ones. I just think of the organization of police departments as a government funded gang. So I mean that's how I treat it every time. I treat it like they're hostile, like they are hostile people, because I know that the laws aren't set up in our favor. They're businesses, they're set up to make money, and they'll tack on any charge they can to make money. So if you just comply,
even with that, even with a negative view of police like that, it would probably save more lives if more citizens viewed the police like you said, a government-funded gang. You know, all of them are not good. You know, and all of that. That would make you think twice before you ignore an officer that's aiming a gun at you. I mean, even that mindset would probably save some lives. The problem we have now is there are too many folks who think he's not going to do anything, and that's getting them killed.
Yeah, I just assume people are capable of things that I can't imagine. So generally, I just comply if the police pulls me over now, especially now that I'm significantly older than I was when I used to get pulled over a bunch. If I get pulled over at all, I just keep my hands up in the steering wheel so they can see everything. I don't move unless they tell me to. Because the time they put my face into the pavement, they cut my face up pretty bad, and there was nothing I can do in court. They said that that they had probable cause to do what they did, and I don't like getting pulled over by the police. I mean,
What happened? If you don't mind, you don't have to if you don't want. But I'm just curious, what happened in that case to lead up to them giving you a face plant like that?
Nothing.
They just walked up to you and slammed you to the ground?
They pulled me over. So I was driving my Mustang. I was 22 years old, 23, 22. I was 22 years old. It was right before my son was born. I was driving down the road in South Carolina, and I see a police car behind me. And so I pull over on the side of the road, and he shows up. He stays in his car. A ton of other police cars show up. About 20 or 30 cops are there. And they just pulled me out the car without hesitation. They told me to put my hands out the window. Then as soon as I did, one of them grabbed my hand, and then they started pulling me out the car. They put me on the ground. They immediately put me in cuffs. And after they finished searching my vehicle, because they asked if I had a gun, after they finished searching my vehicle and they found the gun, they did a little gunshot residue test. They told me that the reason that they had pulled me over, and they told me after the fact, that because they had reports of a Mustang with fancy rims shooting at another Mustang, which to me didn't make any sense because I had not heard any gunshots in the area while I was driving.
So they pulled you over like this because they thought you were trying to kill somebody. But
I guess so.
But you fully complied and was surrendering, and they still yanked you out of the car and slammed you on the ground or face on the ground.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's why I say that some cops, there are people out there who care about other people, and some people do become police officers to protect. But I think there's also bad eggs. There's plenty of bad eggs because there's good people and bad people, and I don't chalk it up to race. I chalk it up mostly to there are people who are just power hungry and trigger happy. Yeah. And that's a problem. I think there needs to be better screening with police officers. One, they need to have a more thorough, they need a lot better screening. Because you see a lot of police departments, like the one, I live in Charleston, South Carolina. If you want to become a police officer in North Charleston, South Carolina, you only need a GED and a clean criminal background. That's it.
Well, and I think, I don't think there's anybody, hell, even a lot of police themselves believe they need to be retrained more. So I don't think that there's any pushback against that other than it'll cost money. But if it'll save lives, you got to spend the damn money. But like I said, I don't think retraining would make Jayland Walker's situation that much better because of all of the bad things he did that night. But I got to move it on as usual, man. Appreciate you coming through once again.
Man, it's nice meeting you.
Absolutely, you too. All right.
And real quick in the comments, but cops have a stormtrooper mentality. Yeah. Somebody said they do annual training right now. Yeah, but in which cities? Every city don't do that. There are some places out there that have some really shitty ass cops. And I really hate that it's these type of stories that lead us to suggest the cops should be retrained. In other words, we need to retrain you how to act better when somebody is running away from you in the car at high speed and shooting at you. I wish it was more like what his case was like, or Philando Castile or Sandra Bland, where somebody's talking shit like Sandra Bland did, but she had a constitutional right to do that. Something like that, yeah, you got to retrain. But I don't know how well you can retrain officers to act when somebody's running away and taking shots out of a car at them. That's like a worst of the worst case. Let me move it on. Vass, we'll bring Vass, and I'll see you in there, Emily. What happened to aiming for?
There has never been a police force that trained their police officers to aim for the leg. That never has happened. Vass, good afternoon.
Hey, I thought they said he didn't shoot the gun, bro.
I'm hearing all sorts of stories
I don't
because
know,
I
man. The
got a caller
news.
that's been on here a couple of times that's also suggesting that this guy ran from police the night before.
Well, yeah, but shit, man, they've been running. I mean, people run from the police because they want to go home. That's why they run from the police, because they want to go
And
home.
and that's a good point, and they never end up going home. Running from the police has
Well,
such a low success rate.
I done made it. I done made it home plenty of times running from the police. And I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you something else. Half the time, you know where the mentality comes from running from the police?
What?
It's because they jump out. Like when you in the hood and shit, right? They will just
Have you
come
ever been
like,
caught running from the police? I'm gonna let you continue, but have you ever actually got caught running from the police?
yeah.
How they treat you?
Oh, first of all, he walked up and just grabbed me by my shirt, twisted my shirt. He like grabbed the middle of my shit in my chest with my shirt, twisted it and grabbed a hold of it.
Why
Like,
did he
what the
do that?
fuck? I'm like, man, what the fuck is you doing?
Why did he walk up and grab? I've never had a cop walk up and aggressively grab me like that. What made him grab you like that? What was the purpose of him contacting you to begin with? Did I lose you?
Okay, I don't know if I lost Vass or not, but that's the question. You ran. What do you expect? Well, okay, Vass, if you can't hear me, okay, I'm gonna move it on. I guess for some reason his side dropped out. Let's go to Emily. Rochester Rays, I see you in.
From the police and run, a white child would be dead. Can you hear me, Emily?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You got a real bad feedback.
Oh, is it better now? No.
I can hear I can hear myself being repeated back.
Okay, how about now?
I'm trying to say, okay, when I talk, no, it's still there.
Okay.
Drop out and request it again, and we'll try it again.
Okay.
There's a real bad echo. I'm gonna try to bring her back, but somebody said earbuds. I don't know what's causing it, but I guess if you have earbuds in, it would prevent that, because that way my voice would not be coming out of your device, so I couldn't hear it back. So you could try that, but let me try to see if I can bring her back on and see what.
There's a real bad feedback. Somebody says she's okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, that's much better.
Okay. So, just recently I had it was probably the scariest situation that I've ever had in my entire life, but I ran into this girl who was in need of some help. She was in a human trafficking situation. And the place we were at, we were actually staying in a hotel. It's kind of like a little getaway close to my hometown. But I met this girl, and she looked like she was in some distress, and she looked like she might have been on some type of substances. So this lady who was in a room next to mine, We didn't know each other at all, but we kind of saw the girl at the same time and we started talking to her. And these guys that were in a room up above us, they were evidently the people she was with. And it turns out that she was in a human trafficking situation and she was on all kinds of drugs. Anyway, but what we did was we pulled her into the room we were in, or into my room. The other lady, I didn't know her at all, but we stood there and talked to her and we are like, do you want help? And she was like, yeah, she really did. She was super paranoid, super worried, and she just kept telling us, I didn't want to do this, I just wanted money and I just needed help. And I was like, it's okay, like we will, call the police and we'll get you help. So we talked to dispatch and we were like, look, she just wants somebody to pick her up. We know she's obviously under the influence, but we will drive her away from this hotel because she doesn't want to be seen by the people who have her, that she's working for. Basically, they were using her as a camel. Anyway, so we were like, can you please just send a unit out to this park that we're going to meet you guys at? And the dispatcher, she was saying yes. And we were telling her, basically the girl's background that we could gather. Not a whole lot of information we were given from the girl. Dispatch just kept telling us, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do this. So we tell the dispatcher what hotel we're at, and we're like, we're going to be in this vehicle. And I was in the process of moving at the time, but I had my son's little 22 in the car with us. And I was like, I was carrying it to be stored. Anyways, but I was like, well, I know it's a little 22. It wouldn't do anything, but I was like, just in case these people come running downstairs when they see her get in the car with us, we will, carry it with us. And we told dispatch, we have a firearm with us. It's registered to be. Gave them our names, everything, description of the car. As soon as we go to leave the hotel, 5 units show up. They pull guns on us, and we're like freaking out. And then they start spraying us immediately, and I haven't.
You're breaking up. Okay, I'm losing you on the signal. Can you hear me? You're breaking up.
Oh, yeah. So they just started screaming at us immediately. And I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, but I just kept calm. And I was like, look, we do have a firearm. It's only a 22. So they got it out of the car, went and checked it. They asked us our names and stuff. But I said, first of all, we called you guys. They were being very hostile. And once everything was said and done, it turned out from their story, dispatch did not relay all the information that we had told them. And I'm not saying that
I guess
the cops.
the thing is though, when the police showed up and they assessed the situation wrong because, like you said, the dispatch didn't tell them exactly everything that was going on with the story. You guys didn't resist though. You didn't take off running or fight back any kind of way.
No, because I knew I did have a firearm. It was actually in the front seat with me. So if I start acting hostile toward them, there's a good chance I get shot myself. So, because at the end of the day, they come up to the car, they don't know who I am. I could have been the captors. This could have been an ambush. It could have been anything, So I had to just calm myself down and be like, look, then after the fact, we all realized dispatch didn't relay what they were supposed to, supposedly, according to them. Dispatch could have, I don't know. But according to them, they were told, just a few things, and then they showed up at the hotel instead of at the park we were going to take her to. By this time, the people who were upstairs could have seen the girl, get in the car that we were in. They got this lady who I was riding with that I didn't know well. They've got her tag number, everything. And it was a crazy situation, but I just think if you try and keep calm best you can, you also got to realize what they're told on the radio is not necessarily the situation that actually happened.
Well, and what you're talking about would also apply to Jayland Walker. For anybody who believes that Jayland Walker did not fire a shot, Yeah, it could be exactly what she just talked about. What they heard on the radio may not actually be true. So when you encounter the police, being as peaceful and compliant as possible eliminates what could happen to you. Like in her circumstance, where police show up and she starts snapping because what the hell you treat me? I'm the good person, and then all of a sudden the whole thing blows out of proportion. But yeah, I would say what did they say? The flies, get more flies with honey than vinegar or whatever. Yeah, when you start acting like that, yeah. Are you aware of the Jayland Walker situation? That story?
I actually haven't looked into it very much at all. I've heard bits and pieces here on TikTok. Unfortunately, I hate it that he lost his life. That is very terrible. I hate it, but like I said, and I know because of the color of my skin, people will say things, but it doesn't matter what color you are. When you're pulled over, your heart stops. You're scared. That you've got to realize, that at any second things could escalate. So you just got to stay calm and just be like, okay, I can't fight you out here in the streets. I feel like if you done me wrong, if a police officer has done me wrong, all right, if you feel like you need to take me to jail, go ahead. I'll let the due process happen. And for some people, they say, well, oh, you may have money to hire a lawyer and all that. Yeah, maybe I have the means to do that. And people who don't, there are so many groups out there, advocacy groups that will fight for you. And we've seen in the last, 10, 15 years with crowdfunding things. If you get your story out there, go to the news, go to your city leaders, have video evidence if you can. Make your case in front of a judge. Don't try and fight them in the street. You're going to lose every single
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Well, I will say even the most hateful, racist police are less likely to do something to you if you're compliant. It generally, no matter how bad you hate somebody, it makes it a lot easier to do something of harm to somebody when they're fighting back or talking shit. So that what is it? Kill them with kindness or whatever. Now I understand folks say, well, the police should be trained and not you. I get that, but at the end of the day, my goal is to bring you home, not to get your bragging rights. It's just about coming home. And if your primary goal is returning home to your family, this is what you should follow until after any training that you deem is necessary or reform that should take place. But right now in this environment, talking shit and running away and fighting back is just not the right route to go.
At the end of the day, and I'm not excusing any bad behavior, but unless you have been the police officer who has to go in and assess an 82-year-old woman who's been not only mugged, robbed, raped, and left in her own feces for days because somebody actually did a wellness check on her and they find her in that condition and they know that it's somebody in the community that's done that. You've dealt with that. You've dealt with domestic violence issues from the same people calling you every single day because they just can't get their crap together and leave each other alone. I mean, they constantly have these situations where they see the absolute worst of humanity and the best of humanity. And so they know what people are capable of. There's countless videos out there, and I don't know why they're kind of censored now because I used to be able to see them, but you can pull up on YouTube where a police officer will just make a stop and they will get their head completely blown off the front door. That's happened numerous times.
Yeah.
You can find it. So when they come up and they do have their hand on their, firearm, like you've got to understand that's because they know what people are capable of. And it could be the nicest looking human. Like I said, they've walked into meth houses with 2-year-old babies that have been left to just basically be, you know, emaciated
Yeah.
and neglected, and they know what humans are capable of.
Yeah.
So they're always on
It's
guard.
gotta
And
be hard. Yeah, it's gotta be difficult when you're seeing the worst of the worst every day for it as a job. And I understand folks say, well, that's the job you took. Nobody forced you to take it. You're trained, you have training and all that. But at the end of the day, people are people. You're just humans. I don't know how you could look at and see that stuff all day, every day. And like I used to say this, I had a relative that was in hospice or whatever. And it was like the girls that work there in what do you call it, the old folks or the nursing home. And it's like, how could you have a job where every single customer you get with is about to die soon? Like some jobs are just, I don't see how people take them, and I would definitely put police officer in that category. I got to move it on, but I'll give you the
I
last word though.
thank you. Oh no,
Yeah.
that's all I was gonna say. I just think honestly, in I guess the whole world, but in the U.S. especially, we do have an authority problem. Like we don't like to answer to anybody about anything, and there are things that do suppress civil rights that people have. I do get that, but acting like you don't have to comply with people, or that hey, they pulled me over because I had a bad tag and then I had so much drugs in my car and they shouldn't have got me for this or that. It's like, do the simple things. Do the things that cost you like $100 to get fixed and carry on with your life instead of possibly dying in the street or
Yeah,
spending thousands of dollars and being in jail. But thank you. I hope you have a great afternoon.
absolutely. Absolutely. Good to hear from you. And you have a good day too. Okay, looking in the comments real quick. Somebody, I guess this is Rick 19. Damn, I wanted to read that comment. And unfortunately, TikTok scrolled it. He was saying, oh, you were suggesting that Americans have no rights on the street. And the point I wanted to make, this is in regards to Rep 8319 saying Americans have no rights while on the street, assuming the police can come and take all your rights away. Um, we're a Second Amendment country. We are pro Second Amendment. We really want to maintain our Second Amendment rights. And that is a condition of it, is that you're starting to slowly lose other rights in maintaining the Second Amendment. It's because when the cops pull you over, they think everybody might be armed. So that's why you got to have your hands at 10 and 2 and make no certain movements, and cops are pulling you over with their guns, their hands already on their pistols. All of this is because they believe that the population might be carrying a gun. Everything they're doing is basically on that premise that the person I'm dealing with might have a gun. So understand that when you're defending the Second Amendment right, you are doing that at the cost of your First, your Fourth, and soon your Fifth Amendment rights. You go to other countries where everybody does not have guns, a lot of these other things you're talking about, it's not a problem. Now, obviously, if you want to talk about Iraq or Venezuela somewhere, but if you talk about free countries, Australia or the UK or something like that, cops are not pulling people over and putting their hands on their guns and things like that. They're doing that here because they think the citizens may be armed. But if you go to any of our countries, other first world countries that are our allies, the cops are nowhere near as aggressive on the people because they don't think everybody might be carrying a gun. So that is a condition of being able to maintain a firearm, is more aggressive police. Going back to the box. Okay, Vaz, I think, is back up now. Let's see if we can make this happen. Vaz, last time you were signal. Vaz.
Yo,
Go for it.
yeah, but you know what though? Do you understand that like the senators are the ones that's doing this, that's making it where everybody can, because they understand, because everybody's understanding that it is the Second Amendment. You do have that right, and the states was taking it. So now you got all the
I don't
senators.
think the states. I don't think the states have
Yes,
ever taken it.
yes, yes. Hold on,
Okay.
hold on, Ansem. Hold on. You. This is the law. We're talking about law. The states are converting over to open carry.
You said they were taking your rights. What do you mean
Yes.
states?
Yes. The
I don't
states.
see that.
The state. No. You. What state you in?
I was in Chicago where they have
No,
tough
your
gun
rights are
laws.
getting violated. Your rights are getting violated. You got all kind of
Okay.
violations. New
Okay.
York.
Well,
New York got all their rights.
let me rephrase it for you. In America, with the
You
exception
think?
of a few very urban liberal cities, in America, you can carry a firearm just about anywhere, with the exception of a few liberal cities. Chicago, LA, New York, places like that. But for
They
the
killing
most
your
part,
rights. They
what?
killed. Yeah, they killed Charles Wright. They was
Yeah,
walking.
but that doesn't represent the vast majority of this country. If you look at the
No.
country geographically, and
Yes.
you take a marker and you
Yeah.
shade out hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
You put the country, the whole map of the United States on the wall, and you shade out the areas where you'll have a trouble carrying a gun. You'll realize that most of that map, you don't have a problem carrying guns in it. with the exception of a few cities like Chicago, where you can't carry a gun anywhere you want in Chicago or LA. But when you go from the minute you get out of LA, you don't have another problem again until you get all the way into Chicago. All of them states in between, you can carry a gun anywhere you want to.
No, but it's the states. It's not Chicago. It's your entire state. It's not just Chicago. That's what you're not realizing. It's not just Chicago. It's your whole state. So
but
what's
you're
happening
talking
in
about
Chicago?
also.
So
You
what's
talk,
okay.
no. The gun laws in Chicago are tougher than they are in the state of Illinois.
Okay, it's impossible.
No,
That's
they
impossible.
are. The
That's
gun
impossible
laws in
because
Chicago,
you got one. You only got.
just
Hold
like
on.
in New York. In New York, the gun laws in New York City are tougher than they were in New York State.
So you're saying the Illinois Senate made laws strictly for Chicago?
Some of them are the mayor. The mayor is making laws in their towns that are doing this.
Man, y'all got a circus going on.
Well,
Y'all got
at
a
the
Senate.
end
Y'all
of the
have
day,
a Senate, bro. Wait,
let me just make it clear to you. At the end of the
there's no
day,
way the mayor should be making gun laws. No way.
okay.
It's impossible. No mayor in the United States of America should be making gun laws.
Okay, well, at the end of the day, I'm just going to simply say that if you look at the amount of gun deaths in this country, leaving a tough a tough gun.
So y'all accepted it.
No, that ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
Yeah,
that
that's basically what you're
at the
getting
end
to.
of the day, if you leave a city like Chicago that used to have tough gun laws, and you go to a city like St. Louis where they don't have any gun laws at all, you are no safer going to those cities. You go to Baton Rouge or Memphis or New Orleans, you're not escaping anything by going there and being able to carry a gun. They're getting shot there even to a greater rate than they are in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Tough. That's what happens. I mean, I don't know why they shooting them people though. You see what I'm saying? Because I know
Well, I
motherfuckers
just
rob.
want to say that for folks who believe that the gun crimes in Chicago are happening because they know the citizens can't protect themselves. I'm like, no, because I can name you a host of cities where a citizen has no
Yeah,
restriction carrying a gun, and
yeah,
people are still getting shot.
yeah. But it's probably because they have something going on though. You know what I'm saying? Not just it might have been you killed my cousin, you robbed
Yeah.
me. It's all
Right.
types of scenarios
Has
going
nothing to
on.
do with the gun law. It has nothing to do
Yeah,
with the
no, it's
gun
not
law.
about the gun. It's the principle of what you did to me. That's
Okay.
why people are getting shot.
Fair enough. I'm
Yeah.
just simply saying when you listen to the right wing media, they make it sound like Chicago's biggest issue with their crime is because of their tough gun laws, and it has nothing to do with
Well,
that.
no, but I don't see how I don't know, boy. Y'all got a circus going on, man. If all that's going on, what you saying, y'all got a circus of a.
No, actually, at this point, you've had a lot of citizens take the city of Chicago to court for their Second Amendment rights, and they've won it. At this point in
I
Chicago, I
imagine.
think you said what?
I said, I imagine.
Yeah, so at this point, if anybody tells you that Chicago has some of the toughest gun laws, that is no longer accurate. You can get a gun in Chicago fairly easy at this point. I think there may be a 3-day wait for a pistol or something like that, but it's not that much of a hurdle.
Yeah, it was kind of
Yeah.
bad because I remember they was coming through this way, bang guns. They was
Yeah.
we might have something like we get like say like rifles here, average rifle going even a good one, right? I got like a nice one. It's
What
gonna be
state
like
are you in? What state are you in?
Kentucky.
All
You
right.
might pay like 600. Man, these fools up around Illinois, they ready to pay like 1,200 for what I got. I could charge them probably like 1,500.
So how are they getting a gun in Illinois? I mean, in Kentucky, if they live in Illinois, what are they doing?
Nah, they come down and get them because they know we got 'em.
Legally?
Illegal? Yeah, they gonna buy it. They gonna buy it and ship it on back to the crib. But we get them motherfuckers for the low. They double up on their ass.
Okay.
For
All
real.
right. Back to this Jayland Walker deal, though.
Yeah.
And somebody said that is illegal. I thought that would be illegal too. If you live in Illinois to come down to Kentucky and buy a rifle, I
Yeah,
thought that would be. You said
Give a fuck.
legally.
Fuck the law. We getting this money.
Okay.
Gonna do this money dance. Ain't nobody studying that shit. We just motherfuckers trying to get money. Ain't nobody.
Well, and that's the point I've often said is that when you look at the firearms and folks say, well, if you ban guns, only criminals will have guns. What they don't tell you is that at the top of the pyramid is the legal law-abiding fire. Well, I guess you can't say law-abiding, but the legal gun owners are the ones who supply guns to all the criminals on the street. And what you're pointing out is a perfect example of that. Somebody who legally had a rifle in Kentucky, they're selling it to people in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. It ain't nothing.
legal.
They
Yeah,
probably.
legal gun owners. Legal gun owners. What? When if you're a criminal,
Yeah, because all
chances
they gonna do is report it stolen. They just gonna report it stolen. That way, fuck it. They ain't gonna have no ties to it as long as they ain't got their name and shit on there. They don't give a fuck.
And that is what a lot of pro Second Amendment folks never want to admit. They always say if you ban guns, a criminal will be to get a gun on the street. They
Hell
never
yeah,
tell
you
you
gonna get
where
it.
the street gets its weapon. What you're talking about, those legal gun owners in Kentucky selling guns to Illinois, that's the street. That is the street. Legal gun owners are where the street is getting its weapons, and they
Yeah,
don't want to tell
man, we
you that.
talking about extendo 30-round clips. Man, ain't nobody got no. We not talking about no little bitty ass. Well, I don't know. We shouldn't even be talking like this, but I'm just saying, ain't nobody. We ain't talking about a dirty Harry 38. I'm just saying, just said know that. Know that.
Well, I would tell you this. My guess is every pro Second Amendment state has people like what you're talking about down there in Kentucky that are supplying weapons. Because India, when I
Well,
was
yeah,
for me, yeah, for me, Chicago in Chicago, I always thought Indiana was a place to go because you could. It's a lot closer.
yep.
You can go to Indiana and get weapons too, but Kentucky is more of a distance to travel. But yeah, it's the legal gun owners that are supplying the criminals with all their weapons.
Yep, Indiana, yeah, but I don't know. I guess they probably more hip to Indiana. They probably a little too hot for them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, because that was
They
the
probably
primary
already
source.
hip.
But
You hit Gary,
yeah,
hit straight over. You know they hip. So yeah,
yeah,
this will take the longer route. They probably it gives you more ways to get back home. Now we are just talking.
yeah.
God damn.
That,
Fuck.
man, that's crazy though. That is crazy though. But
Yeah.
it is what
Anyway,
it is.
Jayland Walker. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Jayland, man. Let's get off the street. Just talking. You over here, you could get me in a
Well, you putting some information out there that I've often argued, so it's good to hear from somebody else other than myself. But in regards to Jayland Walker,
yeah.
why do so many folks run?
Because man, look, I was gonna tell you the story when I got, the cop grabbed me by my shirt, right? Because he thought he smelled some weed. Well, somebody was smoking weed, walked off from my area. They come, so now he smells weed. So I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm like, shit, you smell a cigarette. I don't got nothing to do with that. He grabs me by my shirt, twisted. I'm like, bitch, what are you doing? So I'm standing there, but now mind you though, I am dirty. I'm dirty in a motherfucker. I'm dirty. So I'm like sitting here like this is just some motherfucking bullshit. This motherfucker, I'm getting caught up on this whole fuck shit. So okay. So now I'm like, fuck it. I do this old loop the loop. I somehow swung my arm. I don't know how I broke free, but I done broke free. Pow! Now I done dipped on him. Hip! Right? Somehow he done tore my shirt and everything. He done ripped. I'm running. Boom. He was on the bike, though. He was on the bikes. So he was on the bike and grabbed me, and I took off.
Pedal bike or he's on a pedal bike?
Pedal bikes. They was on pedal bikes.
Okay, so when he caught you,
yeah, he just
how
pulled
did
up.
he treat you? Huh?
He that's how he treated me when he caught me. Oh, we got into a fight and everything. We squared up because he hit me. He hit me with the the extendo stick thing that you carry, the hit stick.
Yeah, I got one. He hit me with that. One of those.
He hit me with that. He hit me with that like 3 times. I was like, nigga, you got me fucked up. So I turned around. I'm like, bitch, hit me with that motherfucker one more time.
Okay, so you're the example I'm suggesting for you not to be.
Yeah, I'm the example not to, because I should have been shot a couple. If you by what you said, I should have been shot. Cause I'm like, I'm like, man, you got me fucked up. So he turns around, I stole him twice.
All right, yeah. Well, don't be. See, folks, for you guys are white, you funny as hell. But for you guys who are white,
I'm
don't
telling
be
you,
like
that's
that.
what happened. And I stole him twice. We got into a fight. Then he maced me. So I was like, man, fuck that. I said, all right, cool. You got me. So then the other cop came. The other cop comes. He's like, don't ever leave your fucking bike. He's mad at the other cop for leaving his bike. He said, you don't never leave your fucking bike. Don't leave your bike. And it was just crazy. But how they treated me like shit.
Well, like I always say, when you do what you did, you generally get what you just got.
Yeah, but I'm alive though. Like he could have,
Yeah.
if he didn't
I
even
would
have
dare say,
tasers. It wasn't no like.
I would dare say most people in your situation are alive. What happened to Jayland
Exactly.
Walker is incredibly excessive. That don't normally happen. What happened to Jayland Walker?
But in a way, yeah, because you got people like the boy down there in Louisiana, man. Compliance is not. That's not even that he was complying. He was submissive, and
Who are you talking about?
down in Louisiana, they beat that boy to death and covered it up for like a year or two.
I'm trying to think who you're talking about.
He told him, he said, man, I'm scared. He said, I'm scared. He said, man, he said, man, you my brother. We supposed to be brothers. They like, get on the floor, you fucking nigger. Well, shut the fuck up.
Wait. Don't get. I don't mind you saying any damn thing, but the TikTok will ban you. Don't.
Oh,
Careful with
that's what the cops were saying.
Don't matter. TikTok don't give a shit about the cops. Avoid the N word at all costs. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Oh, damn! I don't want you to get banned or banned alive, man. Don't
my fault, man. Yeah. Yeah,
like I said, I always tell my callers, you can say anything you want. I'll never ban you, but unfortunately, it makes y'all get a little too comfortable every now and then. Don't put your Nikes on the coffee table if you know what I'm saying. All right. Okay. Hey, man, you got some stories on you, man. We gonna have to talk more because you got some good stories on you. Sound like, but
man, I done been up and down the road, man. You know what I'm saying?
In Kentucky, huh? Y'all get out in Kentucky like that.
What? Man, it's turned.
Kentucky.
Hey, man, we on I-75, bro. Just know that we I-75, bro. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I thought y'all was chilling in the bluegrass, being good.
Yeah, fuck them horses.
All right, man, I gotta move it on. You crazy.
All right, man.
Catch you later. Oh, interesting. Okay, hopefully that man don't get banned. I don't want that man to get banned. I always enjoy hearing from you guys. And Vass did not disappoint. That was oh my God, he did not disappoint. I'm still laughing. Okay, it sounded a lot like Corey Holcomb. If you guys, one of the comedians, he really sounded like Corey Holcomb to me. Very funny. That was very funny. Papa Bear, appreciate you. Been holding. Let me move on. But we need to hear the raw truth, ban or no ban. Yeah, but I can't make TikTok lift a ban. TikTok will do that. Papa Bear, go ahead.
Hey, bud, how you been doing? You have a nice weekend, I hope.
I'm not too bad. I can't complain.
Well, to me, it was kind of out of 67 years, and I can remember a lot of them. It was the worst sports I think that I've ever spent in my life. Worrying about
what year? What you said? What?
The worst 4th of July I've ever spent in my life.
This one it just passed?
Yes.
What happened?
Was too much turmoil, man. Too much turmoil in the country. People dying. People
there was obviously a mass shooting on the 4th itself. So
that really bothers me. But I did like the how to be a criminal lesson that we just got. That was good. I love that. And you guys were talking about earlier about, well, it didn't look like a criminal, he's a nice guy, whatever, da da da. Well, let me tell you something. There is a guy, and I don't think I could mention his name. Well, I probably could because I don't work there no more. But I worked on Florida's death row for a long time.
Oh.
Oh, and there was a guy that killed, I think, more than Bundy did women. And if you've
Wow.
seen this guy, well, if I'm not mistaken, I knew him. Like I said, I did work on death row. His name was Stano. They wrote a book about him. Okay, he killed, I think it was 32 women. And I want to tell you something. That was the geekiest, meekest looking man you ever laid eyes on. And what he was doing was picking up women, hitchhikers and stuff, in Daytona and butchering them. But the whole point is, he was picking them up in a gremlin. What woman is going to be hitchhiking, get in the car with a geeky looking fella in a gremlin? I
Oh my
mean,
God.
really. And this boy, he was kind of feeling bad because he didn't think he could get it. He was pissed because he didn't get a TV in his room. And he was telling this guy they got drunk with it. They made their own little liquor. He got drunk. And this guy said, hey, man, this guy's confessing to all kinds of murders and stuff to me. They said, okay, they put a wire on him. He went in there and they got drunk. And this guy just told everybody. And he did get his private room. He ended up on death row. And when the book came out, the author, I can't remember the name of the book, but the author name was Flowers. Check it out.
Yeah, I looked him up online when you were talking. I see he
Steno,
killed. They
Harold
got
Steno.
22 confirmed kills and 41. He claimed 41. Looks like
Uh-huh.
they executed him. Yeah, they executed him in 1998 at the age of 46. He is a geeky looking guy. I do agree with that. Yeah,
But when
I
when
do agree with
when the
that.
book came out, right? When the book came out about it, he comes and says, "Well, I worked there for a long time, and I come walking into work, and he said, 'Did you read that book?' Well, I had read the book, but to me, I didn't give him no kind of information. Okay.
You telling me the killer himself asked you if you read the book?
Oh yes, yeah, the killer himself. I knew the guys. I'm telling you, I worked their halls. And he said, did you read the book? And I said, no, no, no. I don't do that kind of crap. I don't even read your records. When they bring you records here, I don't go up there and check what you did. My job is to watch you and take care of you and, get you to hone the hell out of here some way or whatever, you know?
Right.
And I read it and he said, well, there was one officer read it and he told me, oh, I read your book, you sorry son of a bitch. And I looked at it and I think to myself, oh my God, that big mouth little, dude, why in the hell did he tell him this? And he said, and from that day on, he was afraid because he had a special diet that they fixed in the chow room for him only because it was
Uh-huh.
a doctor ordered thing. And
Right.
he was afraid to eat. He was afraid to eat after the book come out. I mean, uh,
That's weird. Yeah, that's well.
I've known
Good
a
thing he
lot
is
of
no
them.
longer with us.
I've known a lot of those guys that they read books about. Okay, one that in Daytona, da da da. Well, anyhow, what I was going to say earlier, as far as the subject matter,
Uh-huh.
uh, first of all, you got to remember one thing: when a policeman's in, and I have worked for sheriff's departments too, so you can tell me, call me the enemy or whatever the hell you want. But when a sheriff department puts a person out there on the firing line, they don't tell him to fire one, two, three shots at a time. Okay, he when they get up there, when you withdraw your weapon from the target, everything's empty. It's got to be in that target. Okay,
Yeah,
so they're
that to
trained up
me,
there.
that needs to be retrained though. I mean, because I've said this
Well,
before. When you look at there are literally thousands of citizens using guns in self-defense on YouTube,
mhm.
legitimately feeling in fear of their lives, whether their house is being broken into and they're catching it on a ring camera, or they're working at a grocery store or working at a 7-Eleven in the middle of the night, somebody comes in there and robs them. There's plenty of footage of citizens using firearms in self-defense, and they never empty their guns into people. And
Yeah,
they're by themselves. They're by
Mhm.
themselves defending themselves against somebody that has a gun, and they never do that. But yet, when the police have you got 7 other
I know.
dudes that
But
are
yeah,
7 other
what I'm
people
saying
that
is
are.
that's where their training goes, though. Yeah, they hand you the gun, and every firearm you ever go, and even in the military, right? They hand you the gun, and they tell you, to shoot till the whistle stops.
They need to, and that's see the thing is
That's
you
bad.
should be
Yes, I understand.
yeah, you should
It
be
is bad.
shooting to stop the threat, not shooting to murder the person. And that's
No,
what they seem to be doing.
but yeah, and the whole deal is this: if either one of those officers, and this is straight out, and I'm on your guys' side on this one, you know, but the deal is this: when an officer goes and they put him on the stand, you know what they teach an officer? Every one of us: do not ever say "I shot to kill." They tell him to shoot to stop. If you
Well,
shoot
hell,
to stop,
if you shoot somebody 8 times, you don't need to say you shot to kill. If you as a citizen shoot somebody 8 times, they're going to charge you with murder or attempted murder because it's
yeah,
the
I get it.
assumption when you're firing that many damn times.
But that little sentence right there, right, saves a lot of their butts. That one sentence,
Yeah, yeah,
because
they
that's
need
how they're
to
trained.
yeah
Those things
that
need to be trained.
Yeah, that's something that definitely needs to be trained out of them in terms of firing. Is shooting so many damn times that needs to be stopped.
Psychology is another thing. They need to go a little. Well, we do psychology and certain things. You know, when I went to the prison, I went more into that part of the situation, and because of you got to understand the human philosophy and the mind a little bit if you're going against it. But a cop's got
Right.
to. Well, you've got like 3 seconds to figure out something, right? How long does a man have to shoot if the guy's pulling the gun? Because that's the only time he can pull it.
But I get the point that they had to make a split-second decision. I'm
Right.
with that all day, every day. The guy's on radio shooting at the police, jumps out and runs. They don't know if he got a gun or not, and he looks like he's turning around. I'm totally in sync with firing him being a justifiable shoot. That's my opinion, but emptying your gun into him, I'm not in the same camp for that. I believe
Okay.
that if you think a person is armed and you have to put them down, you don't have to fire your entire magazine every time you do that. I
Yeah.
don't, that's what I don't agree with.
Yeah. And like you said, though, that one thing about it is every one of them cops are pulling them triggers are scared to totally death. They are. They're
I
scared.
don't believe that. I don't believe. I believe that one person was scared and the rest of them saw,
Yes.
heard gunshots and joined in. I don't believe. Okay, it's only one dude, so he clearly can't fire at all 8 of them simultaneously. If he's running and they're not all standing next to each other, they're spaced out all over the damn place.
Okay.
So there's no way
There's
all
a
8 of
question
them
here. I don't know who
thought
it's
he was
from.
turning the fire at them. Go ahead.
Retro? Is that it? Retro? Okay. Retro. Why don't they shoot them? In any place you're taught to shoot, military, anywhere, you shoot for center mass. Leg shots they tell you don't shoot for no head, don't shoot for no leg. Shoot for
Yeah,
center mass. Shoot
yeah,
the biggest
yeah. That
target.
I agree with. That I
That
agree with, but I don't agree
that
that
is
all
why
eight
they
of those
don't shoot the
cops.
leg.
I don't.
Retro.
I don't buy that all 8 of those cops thought their lives was in danger. That doesn't make any sense because they all weren't standing near each other. They're spaced out enough that even if you think he's turning around, some of them are in a position where he clearly isn't turning in your direction. So some of them fired simply because they saw other people firing.
And I don't know the state law or whatever, but if I can remember, now it's been a while since I've been, doing that job. Okay, a long while. But
Okay.
one of the things is deadly force, right? Can be used in some states to stop someone from committing a felony, which would be running, attempting to elude, or
Right.
someone that is either going to harm himself or others. and that could be
I don't
considered
think
that
any
they was a gun involved.
if the cops knew, if the cops were actually 100% certain that Jayland was not armed and he jumped out of that car and ran away at high speed, I don't think any state would allow you to shoot him if they were very, like, say for instance they had announced over the radio he does not have a gun. We're 100% certain he's been patted down. Like, say for instance he escaped and he was in his drawers or something where it was pretty obvious he was not carrying a
He was
gun.
naked, didn't have a gun. That would have been a real bad shooting. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you can't shoot just because they're running. I agree with that. You can't shoot because they're running. But when you do something like Jayland Walker did, it leaves plenty of leeway for the cops to say, I thought he was armed. I mean,
Yeah, well,
you could easily make a legitimate case that you thought he still had a gun.
yeah. Well, I want to leave with one last example. Okay, I had a friend. He was a sergeant in uh, sheriff's department in Georgia. He also worked for the GBI at one time, and then went back down to that. He was a good guy. He was raised in this area. He went home to eat with his kids for lunch. He put
Right.
his he put his vest on the back of the chair, sat down, and he heard his deputies were in trouble with a guy that had a gun. He went down there. Needless to say, he left his vest, and he went down there. He knew the guy. He had dealt with him time and time and time again. He walked out there. He told the guy to put the gun down. The guy turned the gun on him and shot him. I mean,
Wow.
and the deal is, you have such little time. If you
Right.
even think you know him, you know, I keep wanting to mention his name. I had moved away when this happened. My ex-wife told me about it. The friend, because the guy was a friend of mine. But the deal is he had been raised up with these people. He knew this guy. He had seen him, dealt with him dozens of times. Okay, and you have such a little time to make that decision. It's
I've seen some.
because
I've seen some videos of some officers, white officers, dealing with black folks that actually shot at them. And you watch the video and you have to wonder, like, what took you so long to shoot at this guy? And it's pretty clear in some of these cases.
they're afraid now.
Unlike in Jayland Walker's case, where the cops appear to be trigger happy, you got cops out there who are afraid to take action because they don't want to get in trouble. So it does happen the other way too.
That you agree. And believe it or
Yeah.
not, you're talking about this. We're talking recent history here, except one thing. This young man died, right, with two small kids. Da da da. Man,
Right.
he died my over 20 something years ago.
Wow.
It's always been there, bro.
Yeah. I don't
It's
doubt
always
that.
that human thing that when you look at something, go, oh my God, do I have to take this person's life, or do I have to, to put a gun that way? Because I've never, they put me on a fence, a gate, right, and there every so often I relieved at the prison. I had a guy walk up to me one day and he said, "Hey, listen, you won't shoot me." I said, "Listen, if you don't get away from that fence, I'll have to." And he said, "What?" I said, "I'll give you that first fence, but that second one, you can't make it. I can't let you make it out there because I can't stop you from hurting people. And if I let you out of here, people die. It's my fault." And then he
Yep.
finally, when I pulled the gun out, I said, "Now lay down and wait till somebody come and get you."
Fair enough. All right, man. Well, I got to move it
I'll see
on,
you later,
Papa.
bud.
Hey, a
Hey,
good talking to
I
you.
enjoyed it as usual.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a pleasure. You're always welcome back, man.
Love you guys too.
All right, take care. Okay, and like I said, it has come to the point now where there are some officers. Not all, everybody ain't trigger happy like in Jayland Walker's case. Some cops are afraid to act because if they act too soon, they could end up like Derek Chauvin or some of these cops that have went to prison. So some of them are scared. And make no mistake about it, while we're holding police accountable, a lot of criminals know that the cops have very limited things they can do to certain things. Like, we all are suggesting that running is not a death sentence. We all know that running is not a death. You can't kill somebody because they ran. So when you start running, if you're faster than cops are, you get away. We know that. The criminals know that.
which is why they keep spinning the Russian roulette wheel and trying that. My only argument is you shouldn't put your life in the hands of a police officer under the guise that I can do this and he won't do that because the law doesn't allow him. Why put your life in his hands to make that decision? I can punch a cop as long as I don't have a weapon, he can't shoot me because I'm only using my hands. Why take that risk with your own life, hoping that he's going to follow the law when you clearly are not? That's what we're dealing with. Jayland Walker was hoping that when he jumped out of the car and ran, that the cops were going to follow the law, even though he clearly was not. And unfortunately, occasionally, hopefully it stays rare, some folks are wrong. Some folks bet on the notion that the cops are going to follow the law, and they end up losing that bet. Usually when the cops chase someone, it's like Vass talked about. Vass gave the very funny stories of him running from the police numerous times, and when he got caught, they never killed him. But there's always that person that plays the odds and loses their life. So the only point I'm trying to make is that you should not play the odds. It's as simple as that. I don't care how frightened you are of police, how many stories you heard about police. Running from police rarely comes with a good outcome. And for some reason, in this day and age, more and more younger people are choosing that option. And here they are on CNN, particularly when they're African American, but it happens to others too. But running from the police, and like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, when you look at folks like Martin Luther King going to do a sit-in in a restaurant that is clearly marked for all white people, and they would watch the police watch the manager of the restaurant pick up the phone to call police, those protesters hanging out with Martin Luther King knew arrests and ass whoopings were coming their way. And even they didn't take off and run. But yet here in 2022, you're going to use I'm scared of police as a reason to run now? This is probably the best time it's ever been. I'm not saying the police are perfect, but it's certainly a hell of a lot better now in 2022 than it was in 1962. And they weren't even thinking it was a good idea to run. So if there's any kind of advice I can give, until there is some serious reform among police, running is probably the worst option you can make. I got to make it in. I got to run out, folks. I do appreciate you guys joining. Retro Air, appreciate the love on the comment or folks clicking the likes and all of that. Catch you guys later. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I'm out.